Well, g'day there. I wanted to show you two maps that are really helpful in predicting propagation. Although some people don't like to look at stuff like this because they like the challenge or the surprise. Obviously, the best way to check propagation is to actually turn on the radio and start calling people. But this may guide you. So I live in Melbourne in Australia here, and I've set my location to there. And you can see that if I wanted to talk to this area over here, in the States, probably using 28 megahertz would be the best option there, as you can see. There's two levels there. There's a CW level and a digital level. That's recorded from live data from FT8, a few other sources, and DX Cluster, Whisper, and a few other things. Depending upon the strength of those connections that have been recorded by those methods will depend whether it's a digital or a CW or even a voice connection. So you can see here that most of Europe at the moment is on different bands to the States. I can supposedly talk to Japan on 21 megahertz and parts of Russia on 14. So when you zoom in a bit here, across to New Zealand, that's probably the bands to use. And you can see here on 7 megahertz, it's a single sideband level. Although it doesn't get data as to whether voice connections have actually been made, it can tell that, well, the strength of the FT8 and all the other connections that I mentioned before are so strong, it's most likely that voice connections can be made in that area there. A few other distance around Australia. So Australia's quite a big country. To get across Australia can be like getting, well, the same as getting across America or across Europe. Another website which is the same, done by the same person, this is all done by John Hardner, NG0E. The interesting thing about that John Hardner, by the way, is he has nothing about it on his QRZ page, which I'm surprised. This is the new one. It all started just on VHF only, but this is HF. So let's have a look at the VHF option. So zoomed right out, you don't see anything at all. But I live in Melbourne, so let's zoom in here. And what this does, it tweaks from what the beacons can hear from each other. So here we go. So this beacon here, VK3RMV, when I click on it, you can see that it's getting connections, or it can hear the other beacon up here in Adelaide and so forth. So there's quite a good connection between the top of Tasmania and Adelaide via Victoria. There's another one here. It can get quite a mess when there's so many good connections here across the bands here. Yeah, it looks like VHF is doing quite well this morning. There's a lot of inversion across down to Tasmania, which is always a bit of fun. Interesting, I spoke to Tasmania Simplex just the other night, and I had a quick look at this, and it was pretty accurate as to where the beacons can hear each other. Obviously, it depends on my antenna and whether it's up high enough or low enough. It's not a guaranteed, but if the beacons are doing it, then it gives you an indication of what may or may not work. The more you click, the more you see as to where things are working and not working. And then you can get some detail there as to, you know, it's heard 46 minutes ago and things like that. There you go, a little bit of activity in Canberra as well, or up to Canberra. But the more I'll come up to Sydney here, I've been clicking down in Melbourne. So there we go, Sydney's got just as much activity as you can see, it all appearing across, and you can see the connections with the black lines as to where the connections are. So yeah, rather interesting. So a couple of things just to understand this. VHF propagation is based on APRS signals and beacons. You have to zoom in to see anything, and the darker the color, the higher the propagation. So when you click on a darker one, you can see various stations and see where they have connected and can hear each other. Another thing to note is that VHF is more exciting during summer periods usually, which it is here at the moment. So this sort of data is available on other websites, but I quite like this one because it's on a graphical view, which makes it a lot easier to see and understand. It did use Google Maps originally, but now it's using the open source maps, which is just as good. So the data from Whisper gives a signal to noise ratio, which John, who wrote all this, has cleverly worked out that if the signal to noise ratio is greater than 10, then you can assume single sideband will work also. So at the top you'll see all the bands on the menu there, and you can press the play or pause button to go through each one. The MUF stands for maximum used frequency, and that's based on real-time data. So hopefully that's been of some help. Like I said at the beginning, a lot of people like surprise rather than looking at this stuff. This can help take the guesswork out. But I think the main thing for me to take away is let's keep the hobby going. Let's keep talking on the radio and making contacts. Sometimes the bands are open and we don't realise. This might actually show us that. But if you've enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. Have a great day. I hope to talk to you on the radio soon.